God's Way Radio presents Ask a Cop, authentic community engagement with law enforcement professionals. An opportunity to get raw answers to your real questions. In the same way that officers can never know what to expect on their shift, Ask a Cop is live and unscripted. You'll find that these men and women are approachable and eager to answer your questions. Get ready to Ask a Cop. We have a guest here with us, and his name is Chief Landa. That's actually his first name. Is Chief. No, I'm just kidding, sir. Give you a chance to introduce yourself. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, if you just want to introduce yourself, joking around there with your name, Chief Landa, but just give you a chance to introduce yourself however you'd like.
I think I've been doing this for so long, for 42 years, that Chief may be my first name. So it is, but it's Renee Landa. And, I've been in the community since 76, going to high school here in the early 70s, and went to college here at Biscayne College.
Wow.
And got my criminal justice degree from there, and got into the police academy for the City of Miami Police Department in 1980.
And Biscayne College was renamed, right?
Yeah, it was called, now they changed it to...
I don't know. I just know Biscayne's not around.
I can't believe
anymore.
it. I forgot.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
out.
So Chief Landa is here, and this is part of our first Tuesday of the month programming. We call it Ask a Cop or Questions for a Cop. I think Ask a Cop is easier to remember. And we're so grateful. This morning, if you missed it, we had Chief Morales from the City of Miami Police Department. Right now in the studio live, Chief Landa from South Miami Police Department, who also has ties to City of Miami Police Department. Hopefully we'll get to hear some of that story as well. And that means that the phone lines are open for you to call or text. We got a great response this morning, so you guys got to show Chief Landa some love too, okay? We want to get as many calls and texts as we did this morning. Just show our support, and not just our support, show our appreciation for him being here. For example, Chief Landa, maybe we'll go back in the text messages and even kind of steal some of their questions from this morning. They were asking some difficult questions about, for example, I remember one of them specifically. It really struck me as a young parent, and you don't have to answer right away. We'll come back to it. Right. But for example, they were saying, what would you, they're asking the chief this morning, say to students that don't feel safe going to school today after everything that's happened the last few days, the threats, the arrests? And that's a challenging question. So, someone texted the studio this morning asking that question. So we might touch upon that. Hopefully we'll get to have some fun as well. Won't be all heavy and difficult, and hear some of your stories. So all this is just way of introduction, family. It's 3:34, and we have plenty of time if you don't wait till the last minute. You want to call and ask any questions that you have, or text us, and I know Chief Landa is excited to interact with you. So we're going to go to some music, and we'll be back and just get to know Chief Landa a little bit, hear about his story a little bit, and just how he got to where he is today. And Chief Landa, the people are already helping us out. We have some great listeners. St. Thomas University.
Oh, St. Thomas, that's correct.
Somebody texted us. Biscayne College was renamed to St. Thomas University. So shout out to you, our listening family, for helping us out with that. You saved us a little bit of work, and now Chief Landa can concentrate. One check mark off there, one question answered. So we're going to be right back here. This next song, it's already in progress. Goodness of God, Jen Johnson. And stick around. Tell your friends. Maybe you have a friend that will be interested in listening today. We'll be here till 4:30 with Chief Landa, the chief of South Miami Police Department. Stick around.
And I have lived in the goodness of God. Yeah. And all my life you have been faithful. Oh, and all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Yeah.
Goodness of God, Jen Johnson. Man, I love that song. I know a lot of you do as well. You are listening to God's Way Radio. We're online at godswayradio.com. Free apps. Yes, actually free. No strings attached on your Android device, your iPhone. And they're really useful, seriously. The schedule is on there. There's buttons to all kinds of stuff, events, and a share button to make it easier to share with friends and family. So go check it out. But right now, we want to go back to Chief Landa of South Miami Police Department. Thank you again, sir, for being here. And as we mentioned before, how did you get started in police work? What's that story?
You know, right out of high school, I started to go to Biscayne College, which I thank the caller very much. It is St. Thomas now. And, you know, when I started there, my sister, my father, my mother were all attorneys in Cuba. Then my father did it here, and my sister's also an attorney here in Miami. So I kind of started the criminal justice program at Biscayne College. They had one of the best during that time, and my goal was to, you know, eventually end up and go to law school. But my third year, my junior year, I always remember that because I started having a lot of classes with police officers. There was a LEAP program, Law Enforcement Education Plan, that they were doing. So a lot of officers were getting their education paid. And I ended up having a lot of classes with them. So the conversation, the stories started, and I loved the educational part of studying the criminal justice field. And, you know, I just absolutely fell in love with the process. And, you know, I think one of the biggest things is my dad told me that what you should do is go and ride. So I turned around and I went to go ride with an officer for the first time in my life. And I tell everybody that the day that I did that, I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Because, you know, it was just that feeling.
That's amazing. And what year was that?
That was 1978.
So you fell in love with police work in 1978.
When I stepped in that police car, you know, and I've kind of told my son the same thing, is that as he goes, you know, you need to go shadow the field that you want to do and go find out if that's really what you enjoy. And like I said, the day I stepped into that police car, I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It was
That's
over.
amazing. And here's a, you know, it could be a funny question, but it's also a very serious question. Have you second guessed yourself over the last?
Never.
That's
I can
cool.
answer that quickly
That's
right
awesome.
away. You know,
that's awesome. Even with everything that's gone on recently.
Even to this day, with all the things that are going on, just the love of the job and the passion for it, of what the profession means. And I always tell everybody, this is not a job. This is a profession that consumes your life.
Yeah.
So when you see those officers out there, whether they're on duty, off duty, this is a job that consumes your life 24 hours a day, and you got to live it every single day.
Absolutely. You know, that takes us into another subject. I don't want to get to it yet. I want to hear a little bit more about you. But what we were just talking about off the air, it consumes your life. And that could be great if there's passion, if there's love, if there's integrity, if there's dedication. But if it's not great and it consumes you and it's difficult and the issues that officers go through, officer wellness, right? That's something that I know you're passionate about and that I'm sure we'll talk about today. But for all of you listening, this is meant to be interactive. It's Ask a Cop. And so, you know, I'm kind of, asking questions here and but trying to make it comfortable because we want Chief Landa to come back. Hopefully we'll have some smoothies on us and some donuts there, a little gift for him. But in all, oh wait, what was that, Chaplain?
It's pastelitos. We're in Miami.
Oh, pastelitos. Sorry. I'll take these gift cards then. No, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, we're going to ask, you know, questions that are, you know, we want answered in truth. And so all that to say, you can call and ask your own questions or make a comment. You know, we had a lot of, appreciative comments as well this morning. And we have a text message, actually. The phone number to the studio is 786-313-3115, 786-313-3115. This one's great. It says, "Hi, my special appreciation to today's guest, my respect for his occupation and for making time to be there with us. Thank you." I don't know if you want to respond, Chief.
Absolutely. It means so much for people to come up and say something, and I just really appreciate that. I get a lot of that in South Miami. We have a place, Casa Cuba, that we go to have Cuban coffee. And, you know, I get a lot of that, people coming up and telling us. And we don't hear it enough. The officers don't. So when people do that, I mean, it just really means a lot to us.
Excellent. So thank you for your comment of support and encouragement. You can be the next one to text or call. Texts are great. We've gotten multiple texts here this afternoon, but to hear your voice would be special as well. 786-313-3115. So, Chief, you rode in a police car. You knew it's what you wanted to do for the rest of your life, and then you applied and became a chief. what happened next?
You know, I went to the police academy at Miami-Dade. They used to have the full-time academy there for 6 months. Just met really some passionate men and women in that academy class, BLE 45. That was 1980. And May 8th, we all went in, May 3rd, and we all got out in October. And if you remember, during that time, it was, the Mariel boat lift.
Wow.
We had some civil disturbances that were in the city at that time. So it was some rough times, but it was a place to really learn how to be a police officer and how to become a police officer.
And that was with Miami-Dade County?
That was City of Miami.
City of
City
Miami.
of Miami. So, and we were right there in the middle of the whole thing in the city. We had a few civil disturbances in 1980. The Mariel boat lift occurred that year.
Yeah.
So the murder rate in the capital was going up, and it was amazing. It was an amazing time to be a police officer.
Wow.
But just the passion kicks in, and when you really want to help people, that's where we really try to do your job, is to help people as best as you can.
Yeah. And so I'm just thinking of stories my dad has shared growing up in Miami as well. And again, sensitive subjects, different subjects, but as far as what's gone on the last couple years, and hopefully I'm not, saying a bad word here or something, here goes. You're no stranger to race tension, disturbances, riots. I mean, in the late 80s, there was that going on as well.
Right. But the thing that's going on in the country right now, and we're used to it, we've seen it, but the thing that I always come back on is that what we have experienced in this city since 1980, we have a Haitian community, we have a Cuban community, we have a Puerto Rican community, we have a Nicaraguan community. I mean, we have seen so much, an African American, we have seen so much in our lifetime and experienced so many of those issues that as police departments in city of Miami, I mean, in the Miami-Dade County area, we've experienced so many of these issues. We've overcome them. We've worked with our community.
Wonderful.
So a lot of these things that you see going on in the country, when they turn to us and they say, hey, look what's going on, we've been through this before.
Wow.
We've worked it out with our communities.
We definitely have a special community here. And like you said, there's so many. What's interesting? I wouldn't call Miami a melting pot necessarily, because everybody kind of has their neighborhood,
right,
but we all get along at the same time. So,
but it was called a melting pot in the old days, and
Wow.
you had Little Haiti, you had Little Havana, you had all the little sections and everybody respected that.
Yeah.
And then we got to understand each other's cultures.
Yeah.
In the police, in City of Miami Police Department in the early '80s, we were learning how somebody's culture is different, the way they talk to you, whether they make eye contact with you, different things like that, which are very important when you're dealing with different people in the community.
Incredible. All that you have to think about as a police officer. Well, we have somebody on the line. Good afternoon. Where are you calling us from today?
Good afternoon. This is Chaplain Perez.
Hey. Take it away, Chief. This is your chaplain here.
Oh, my chaplain. Hello, Chaplain Perez. How you doing, sir?
Doing great. Just wanted to let you guys know that, and Sergeant Bartha knew also that we've been praying for you guys. The other day I had the opportunity to go and visit with your late night shift, I think was at 10 o'clock. So it's a blessing. But know that we continue to seek for ways to pray for you guys, to serve you guys. And I just wanted to give you two verses for you and the rest of the department, if you allow me.
Of course.
That'll be Psalm 7, verse 1. O Lord my God, in you I have taken refuge. Save me from all those who pursue me and deliver me. And then verse 10, my shield is with God, who saves the upright in heart. So I know that I heard part of the statement that you were talking about earlier, that Miami was a melting pot. And because of that, we have some good things from each culture, but then we have some differences. And we want to understand that, and we want to grow with that. But the only common denominator, I think, that will help us to all get along with each other and understand with each other is God, is Jesus Christ. So I just want to encourage that for all of us.
Thank you.
And just want to say hi.
Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming out the other night. Sergeant Barcher did tell me about that. But what you guys supply, and I'm talking about our chaplains, is so important because it's that peace, that time for that genuine communication and trust that the officers have with each and every one of you. And I thank God for you and for you being in our South Miami family.
Amen. Amen for you guys, too.
Gracias, man.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Hey, you might be the next person to call 786-313-3115. You might want to text us 786-313-3115. Don't waste this opportunity. Chief Landa's here for another, let's see here, 30, 41, 42 minutes. And so we want to take advantage of the time. And that's if there's not an emergency, because police work, Chief, there's no guarantee you're going to be here the whole 41 minutes. You might have to attend to something.
I'm going to try.
So let's take advantage of the time. Let's just jump right into it. We were talking about it off air. It comes up again as the chaplain calls. What is this thing called officer wellness, and why do you care so much?
You know, in May, I became the president of Miami-Dade County Association of Chiefs of Police. And my issue for what I wanted to set was a goal for the entire year. And it was called an officer wellness program. In law enforcement, we've been talking about this for so long, for the last 3 years. And as all the officers go through training, as the policemen experience on the street the calls that they go to, there is no doubt whatsoever that every police officer will go through some type of traumatic event. Every single time they put on that uniform and they pin on that badge and they go out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's traumatic events that happen in their life. That doesn't include the issues that they have in their personal life like everybody else does. Yeah. So my concern and what I wanted to do is to get a wellness program going for the officers. We've joined some great companies that have told us. Boulder Crest is a company that has joined us with that. And they're investing a lot of money into, the PTSD that they do for the military. They are now doing that for our officers, sitting with them a week period, Tom, and we call it a wellness class. And it's to talk to the officers, to open up, to let go. Officers aren't good at doing that. They have to show this shield, this protection that we're strong. And if I'm a police officer and look at another police officer, I don't want him having any issues, because the next call that I get could be a life-saving one, and it could be my life, and I want to make sure that the person that is with me is okay. So we're not used to opening up. Yeah. And what we do a lot through this wellness program is to open up, say things that are bothering you, how to get over it. And again, I'm going to see it today. The most important, one of the issues is the chaplains. That's an important piece to our wellness program.
Yeah, I so appreciate so much of what you said. If you're listening right now to God's Way Radio, we're live in the studio. Chief Landa, South Miami Police Department, is here. Shout out to City of Miami Police Department. Any other departments that you worked with in the past?
No, just the city. I worked with Key Biscayne before also. Wonderful. Great police department out on the Key. And South Miami is just a great place to work, a great community.
So shout out to Key Biscayne, to the City of Miami, and the City of South Miami. So Chief Landa's here. You can call or text us and participate in today's program. It's Ask a Cop. We do this the first Tuesday of every month. We hope to keep it going for a long time to come, and maybe even increase the frequency. Maybe it's going to be more than once a month. We will see what God does. But right now, Chief Landa's here. So call or text us 786-313-3115. Like I said, you said so much, Chief. And for example, what came to mind is people might think, traumatic situations. When a police officer is involved in a shooting, or when a police officer has to see something very graphic. If anyone listening right now realizes it's a very traumatic thing just to get into a car wreck, right? For me to hit a vehicle, I'm nervous. Your heart's pumping. Are they okay? Am I okay? My day is messed up. Imagine going to car wreck after car wreck after car wreck, dealing with frantic people, helping people, traffic stops. So it's not that just these big, sadly, loss of life kind of things. It's, little trauma compounds. It's compound stress. It's called cumulative stress. And it builds up to a breaking point or an overflow point. There's a lot of pictures that we're given.
And if you leave that inside and you don't release it, then that's exactly what the issues and what the wellness program is trying to say. In the late 80s, the unfortunate part, I want to say the middle 80s, I went to an intersection where there was an early accident, like you're saying. It was Christmas time. And, as I came upon the call, it was a DUI that hit a lady that was coming in a car. She was killed.
Wow.
There's presidents in the back seat. There's presidents in the trunk. And then all of a sudden now, not only is it doing the report, doing all that information, now the accident investigator asked me to go with him to the house to tell the family. And these are all things I'm saying but these are things that you have to live with, that you have to go there. And if you have a child that's the same age as the child and they're running up to the door yelling for their mother, you got to go home too, and you got to put all of this and say, I can't think about this and I can't take it personal. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. How do you shut that off and not take it personal?
Yeah. Well, do you have insight? Do you have an answer for maybe police officer that's listening?
Well, the great thing right now is our chaplains. I love you guys.
Amen.
It's just picking up the phone and being able to let go. I mean, mine's always been, family and going home and releasing it with your wife and everything else. Awesome. If she's been in the business, I think as long as I have, being a wife of a police officer for 42 years. So it's easy to go home and be able just to release it, and having somebody strong at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Adrian?
And, one of the things you might be listening and you might be an officer, maybe you're driving and you happen to tune in. Reach out to the station and definitely through the day chiefs, find out. But there are resources and if you can't bring yourself to make a phone call, there's all sorts of different programs that departments have, through their, either through their EAP, they have chaplains available at different departments. And maybe you're just not comfortable with anyone in your department. And that's the point that, there's people in other places. And so, but it is okay. And it is good to talk about it, speak about it, share it with someone. Again, the chaplains are not there to cram a religion, but they're there for support. Yeah. And it's sometimes most accurately described as a ministry of presence. Yeah. And we've seen it, Joey,
just
and
being there,
and just being there. And so, I'm thankful because whenever you hang around Chief Landa, and I'll throw some lightness to it, it's contagious. He's a little bit contagious in
the good kind.
In the good kind of contagious, there's life in there, and there's memories like that, but there's been some sort of way. Now, I'm sure it's not perfect. None of us, but there, you could see the excitement. Yeah. You could see that he really cares about the job. And so if you're an officer, listen to him. And it might not be your wife that you might be able to speak to. Not everyone can speak to their wife. Yeah. Maybe it's another person. But definitely speak to somebody. Yeah. Just the act of speaking about it can make a huge difference. And the last tone of humor, I've just been wondering this question, and I want to see, Chief Morales, City of Miami, was here this morning. He said he won third place in a salsa contest.
Oh,
I'm just wondering, with Chief and his wife being, so
are you
close,
trying to set up a dance?
I'm just saying one day we might just see a competition between departments on who has the better
what are you doing,
dancing chief. I'm just thinking.
Well, I have an older sister that taught me how to dance.
Oh, Chief Morales, I think that's a challenge.
She's the one who taught me everything.
Man, that's incredible. Let me pick up on a thread here. Talking to your spouse, I saw a video from the Billy Graham organization. It's just so little time. The wife felt different from the husband. Husband's a police officer, so she said, "I'd like to go on a ride along. It's kind of like alone time. I'll see what you do at work. No problem." He gets into a shootout while she's with him on the ride along.
Wow.
And she's there regretting her decision. Our kids, why am I here right now? They make it through the incident. So very traumatic, obviously. But she said a comment, and this is picking up on the thread, coming back to you, Chief Landa. She made a comment, something to the effect of, "I wish you could share more with me. I want you to share more with me." Right. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, there's different people in life that are going to treat it differently. Different men and women, are going to, whether they feel open to say that. Some officers turn around, "I don't want to bring this home. I don't want to bring this to my wife. I don't want to worry."
But do you think a lot of spouses they would say, no, don't feel that way. I want to hear it.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think, you come home but see, it's so funny because I mean, it's not funny, but I can go out and I can experience something very, very traumatic. And this is the difference. And when I experience that very traumatic, a death, an accident, whatever that we've seen, and I put my shield up to protect myself. Now I go home and, you may have your wife break a nail and she's crying and getting over it. That is not, and then they get mad at the husband because he's not crying. He's not emotional.
Wow.
But after what I've seen today, that is not traumatic to me. Yeah. So you have to be able to, as a police officer, understand that from your family and understand that their kids are there. We are in our wellness program doing it. Our classes are a week long. What we want to do now is we're going to start bringing in the wives.
Wonderful.
And having a 1 or 2 day class completely with the wives. Some of the husbands can come if they want to or not, but it's to let them know what their husbands experience.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you for your insight on that. We're going to go to some music. This is a very special song. It's kind of making the rounds as far as law enforcement, as far as a heart that God would have towards first responders. So we're going to listen to the song together. Maybe some of the lyrics will resonate with Chief Landa, and it'll also give you an opportunity to call, to text. We actually have a text message here kind of waiting in the stables, if you would, in the wings. And we're going to get to this as well. But there's still 2 phone lines open, and we can get more than 1 text at a time. Cell phones are amazing. Come on, guys. 786-313-3115. 786. Hey, you know the number already. 313-3115. If you know, then you know. The song is God Only Knows for King and Country.
Wide awake while the world is sound asleep, and too afraid of what might show up while you're dreaming. Nobody sees you. Nobody will believe it. And every day you try to pick up all the pieces, all the memories, they somehow never leave you. Nobody sees you. Nobody will believe it. God only knows what you've been through.
All right, we're going to interrupt this song because we have a phone call. Good afternoon. Where are you calling us from today?
This is Orlando from Sweetwater.
Great to hear from you, my brother. Sweetwater represented well. What do you want to share with or ask Chief Landa of South Miami Police Department today?
Well, I want to thank him and all those who serve us with him for their protection. We cannot live without you. And I want to give you a portion of the scriptures. I beg you to read the rest afterwards at home. This is Romans 13th chapter, verses 1 through 7. But I give you, 4 and 5. The Lord says, "For his God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For his God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practice evil. Therefore, you must be subject, not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake."
Amen.
So
Thank
we
you.
have to thank you very much for what you do for us.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I
bless
really
you and
appreciate
keep you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'll read Romans 4 and 5 over again because of you, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much. God bless you. 786-313-3115. You can be the next person to call or text. It's 4:02, and we know that we have sometimes a different audience join us around 4 o'clock. You're getting out of school. Perhaps you're taking a break in your day. Listening family, we're here with Chief Landa of the City of South Miami Police Department. It's the first Tuesday of the month. You know what that means? Ask a cop. You can ask them anything you want. You can share anything you want. Obviously, we have a responsibility for our FCC license. We have a responsibility to our guests, but we've never had an issue. So call and text us right now, 786-313-3115. So Chief Landa, let me read to you this text message that we've had here waiting. This is a good one. First of all, they said, "Thank you for serving and making our community safe. Two-part question. Number one, share with us one or two of the most rewarding encounters with the public. And then the second part is one or two of your most dangerous moments.
Wow.
So a rewarding encounter and a dangerous encounter.
I think the first one would definitely be, I worked with a young man for a very long time. We had caught him with narcotics and drugs. He turned around and he started helping us out. But I watched him clean up his life, and then without me ever saying anything, he was on a radio talk show like this, and they interviewed him, and he said that he just wanted to thank me for saving his life and everything else. He had never told me that. I had never said that or anything else, so I thought that was very personal, and I'm glad that I was able for that one human being to do something about that. I think the second one was a lady was going to commit suicide, and she was going to jump off the expressway. She had gotten up, and two of us started really talking to her, and at like a last second, we another officer and myself jumped and grabbed her and took her off the ledge. But the incredible thing about it was the tension that both myself and the other officer had. We took her off the ledge, but we had clamped onto her so tight and were hugging her so tight that we didn't want to let go. So I'm looking at the other guy and I'm telling you, we have to let go. We have to let go of her. But we had her, and it was such a tense moment of her, almost jumping and killing herself. And then we were close to being really close with her, so we could have gone over too. So it was a very, very tense moment. So it was good to save her life. What was the second part? No,
that was it. Yeah.
that was
that was a good moment.
That was a good moment.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounded like the dangerous. So it was one or two of the most rewarding encounters.
Right.
So those were rewarding, and that's amazing because the second story I thought was the dangerous one, but now that I think about it, how rewarding to save that woman's life. Yeah. So the second part of the question was one or two dangerous moments that you can remember.
I think we were coming into a search warrant that we were executing. They were telling us that the subject inside had been in prison before, and he had stated to the informant that we had and everything else that he wasn't going to be taken alive. He wasn't going back to prison. The entrance that we made, because I was on SWAT during that time, was so quick into the house. The subject was able to be taken down to the floor between anything else. But as I looked at the couch that was next to the door, he had like 2 rifles ready to go, 2 guns. Everything was loaded and was just ready to go. So, at the end of it, you look at it and you say to yourself, this was really, really close. If it wouldn't have been for the perfect entry that the entire team made. And that SWAT team back in the city of Miami was an incredible team. That was definitely something that was, important, very important for us.
That's amazing. And again, what comes to my mind immediately is the phone number, 786-313-3115. You can call or text us right now. We're getting into some really, really great stories, memories, insight with Chief Landa of South Miami Police Department. This is an open forum here. You want to take advantage of the time, about 24 minutes left. What comes to mind, Chief, in addition to the phone number, is how you cannot afford to be nice at a moment like that. Right. You know what I mean? I mean, people, it seems a segment, at least of the population, would say, oh, but don't hurt the door, don't be too rough. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, we've heard that, and your words, if I heard you correctly, if it were not for the perfect entry, which was probably very fast, the door probably came down very hard. Right. The guy was probably uncomfortable as he was being apprehended.
Oh, big time.
If it weren't for that, people would have been hurt.
No, for sure. And you can't, sometimes it's an acting moment, sometimes it's not. I mean, in the early 80s, late 80s, there was a lot of narcotics in Miami. There was a lot of dirty business going around, a lot of shootings, killings, murders. And, I remember going into a house and I was doing a drug deal. I was undercover. And I came to sell 2 kilos of cocaine. And I walk into the house and the guy turns around and he closes the door. And in those days, eran de reja, right?
Yeah.
Bar doors. And he closes the bar door and he locks it on me. So in my mind, I had just finished seeing the movie Scarface.
Oh, no.
So I'm thinking of the bathroom scene with
no.
the chainsaw,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at this guy, and I just came completely serious, and I told him, I said, I don't know you. I go, open that door now. And the guy looked at me. I didn't have a gun. I don't have anything because, you know, you don't go in with guns. You're doing a dope deal. And that part, the guy didn't take one. And he told me, turn around. I go, open the door right now because I don't know you and I don't care who you are. Open the door. And I was yelling at the guy, and he opened the door. We did the drug deal, and then we arrested him. But, you know, he closed the bar doors on me, and the windows had bars and everything else, and there's no way for me to get out of there.
Wow.
So, you know, it was
That's
very
di-
difficult. But sometimes you got to be serious. You take the job until you figure out what you have, and when you have the scene under control of what you want, then you can be nice, you can do whatever. But at first, you know, you got to take care of business first to make sure you don't get hurt.
Absolutely. Wow. Incredible stories from the life and career of Chief Landa, City of South Miami Police Department. You might have your own question or comment. You know, I want to repeat a question that we got in the morning. It was an 8-year-old student, and it was such a fun question. He said, what's the funnest part about your job?
The funnest part, you know, for me that I've gotten right now is contacting people and really being absolutely genuine. You know, to me, I just love representing the uniform, the badge with my fellow police officers that I work with every day, and running into people and being able to help them out. That's the funnest part, is just being there. You know how people think about robberies and burglaries and the stuff we go to and shootings. That's all great and dandy. It is, but that's not most of the work most of the time. Right. So it's being out there, talking to people, and being able to help them out in any way that we can. If they had an issue, if they have a problem, if they're going through something, to try to be there to help them out. That's the funnest part of my business.
Absolutely. I think it was, Chief Morales gave the numbers. It was something like, I don't remember the number, almost 1 million police officers across the United States. And about 10%.
80,000 departments or something like that.
Something
And
incredible.
most of the departments, if you look at them, are 52 men, 60 men, and less.
Right.
We all think City of Miami, Miami-Dade County, Miami. They're not that big, most of the departments across the country.
And he was just saying how, you know, what's reported on national news is 10% of what goes on or less. And you have so many people, you know, going door to door, helping people, you know, simple things. I mean, let's see, what have I seen in my few years working alongside police? It's a funny story. Right along, there was someone that had a very good time. It was late at night, and they were a little woozy. And, you know, the police officer, first he made sure everything was okay. You know, what's going on with this guy, and why are those people upset? And he just basically was, you know, a little too loud in the bar or whatever. Long story short, it turns out the guy had some kind of atypical situation, autism or something, and probably shouldn't have been drinking alcohol.
Right.
The police officer just kind of stayed with him until his parents came.
Yeah.
Fire rescue was called because I think he had fallen and he was bleeding from his head. And this police officer, you know, fire rescue had gotten another kind of like a priority call. And the police officer said, hey, don't worry about it. We'll stay with him for, you know, a few minutes. You know, they had made contact with the parents. Very just relaxed kind of situation. Hey, there's a guy here. He had too much to drink and you know, he needs a buddy, and we're going to wait for somebody to pick him up, and that's it, you know?
But how calm that is for the officer doing that and that. But I want to take you to the other side of that. How do you think that parent feels? I have an officer that called me. My son's now bleeding from his head. He's overly been drinking. The police is there, and he thinks his son's hurt or something else.
Wow.
The father and parent doesn't feel that way until they come to that scene and make that connection with the police officer. Wow. And that's when that officer has to say, hey, listen, I was here with him. He's okay. I was just waiting for you so you could take him home.
That was great. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So Chief Landa here, South Miami Police Department. We have less than 20 minutes left, and we look forward to your phone call, to your text. Got another text here. People love texting. I don't know what it is. That's okay. 786-313-3115. It says, thank you. It says Officer Landa here, though. Chief Landa. Thank you, Chief Landa, for your years of service and sacrifice. It's sad that police officers are getting a bad rap by some. What can we do to turn the tide of public opinion and keep telling those interesting cop stories? So their question to you is, they said they like the stories, and then their question is, what can we do? And that's a great question. Thank you, our listening family. You can text in or call as well, 786-313-3115. What can the average, quote unquote, average person do to help change public opinion?
One thing, and that's being supportive of law enforcement. If they're able to, verbalize that and say it, that's number one. But really, really what is supportive is turning around and being to tell a police officer, thank you for what you do and stay safe. I've been hearing that so much lately because of defunding the police and everything else. In my personal life, when I'm not in uniform, I go around, if I'm wherever I go, and I just walk up to an officer. I don't tell him who I am, and I go, be safe and thank you for what you do. And, I was just recently in another city in Florida, and I did that to a law enforcement officer. And when I turned around, he was walking up behind me, and he goes, can I just tell you something? And I go, what's that? And he goes, I was really having a bad day this morning. I just really appreciate what you told me. It means a lot to me.
Wow.
And I don't get that a lot. But that officer came and he told me that. And for the officers themselves to know that that's how people feel, we don't hear it enough. And it's just amazing when officers do that. And they do hear that from the public. That means a lot to us.
Absolutely. And I think of the people listening, maybe you think you say it a lot. I don't know if that makes sense. If you're constantly going around, thank you. But remember that, they've never seen you. This is the first time they heard it from you. Right. There's I guess what I'm saying is there's enough thanks and love to go around. So keep going. You can never say it too much.
No, never.
Yeah.
I remember one morning just recently, within 6 months ago, I must have heard 3 or 4 times that people turned their head on me. They were disgruntled. They were basically telling me with nonverbal communication that they didn't accept policemen or they didn't like it. And that day, even with 42 years on, it was still bothering me a little bit. Well, I ended up going to have my coffee, and, people wanted to buy me coffee. People wanted to come over and say, thank you for what you do. Another person came over, can I buy you a box of pastelitos to take to your policeman? And it turned my entire day around that day to do that,
Wow. That's so incredible. And it just shows the power of gratitude, the power of kindness. This is God's Way Radio. We're on 104.7 FM. We're at godswayradio.com. And you look at the scriptures. I mean, to you, our listening family, that you're Christians, that you're believers. Remember, I mean, there's so much of our faith that, yes, it's so deep, it's so wonderful, but so much of it is so simple. While Chief Landa was talking about that one guy that said thank you publicly for his, he said, thank you for saving my life. I thought of, there's a story in the Bible, 10 lepers. Jesus healed 10 lepers, and only one of them came back to say thank you. And so I've been thinking of that story as you've been talking here the last several minutes. What if you listening, you're that one person that comes back to say thank you, how it could so impact a police officer, chief, or otherwise, what would you call them? Road officer, patrol officer. Incredible. You can still call. You can still call with your questions or comments, or text in your question or comment. Well, like we said, you can never say thank you enough. So text or call us right now. 786-313-3115. 786-313-3115. And we have another guest here. I can't call him guest. He was here a few hours ago. Pastor Raz, thank you for coming in.
Hey, it's a joy to be here. I was in another meeting, but I couldn't let the day go by without our guest, Chief Landa, being here. We go way back to City of Miami days, and I'm sorry I missed what I've missed, but I'm here to see if you guys can catch me up.
Absolutely. Well, Chief, I don't know. Can we? Do you think we can catch him up?
His smile alone in this room is so radiant. That's good enough for me. That's all I need.
Well, we've been talking about a lot, Pastor Az. Some of the texts we've gotten, they said keep coming with the stories. They love Chief Landa's stories.
Well, he's got a lot of experience.
Yeah, some heartwarming
in law enforcement. And one of the things I appreciate about Chief Landa is he's a professional. He's got experience. He's got knowledge, but he's got a heart. Yeah. He's got a heart. Even in the swearing in of the chaplains in South Miami, so appreciated the way that, man, you swore them in. The oath. They took that oath. Wonderful to see. I want to challenge the listeners. 786-313-3115. You still have time to text, to call. Ask a cop. And today you're asking a top cop in South Miami if you have a question about law enforcement. Maybe you want to get into the profession. maybe you have a story. Maybe you have a reason to say thank you. Don't let this opportunity go by without you utilizing it. So give us a call. Give us a text. 786-3133-115. Back to you, Joey. Chief Landa, maybe you wanted to say something. I'm sorry.
No, thank you. It's just lovely having you here, my friends.
Good to have you here.
Chief, maybe you were just born that way. Maybe you can share something with us. And what's amazing is this applies to police work or really any other profession. How many years?
42
years. How do you keep the fire, the enthusiasm, the passion after
Good
42
question.
years?
Good question.
It's never died inside of me. It's just I just really love. It was funny when I got on. I had a very senior guy look at me and tell me, you're passionate today. Just wait till you finish your first year. And then he saw me at the end of the year, and I was still the same. And he goes, well, wait till you've been here 3 years. Well, I was on 3 years, and he saw me again. And then he told me the same thing 10 years, and then he saw me again. Then he was retiring, and I go, listen, come back 30 years from now, and I'll still be the same. But,
Nice.
it could be in a personality or what, but I really, I'm passionate about my profession. And
what would you say to a police officer, whether, again, patrol or command staff or otherwise, that they were like you at one point and they've lost it?
You got to get it back inside of you again, because this is the only job that you go out on the road, you wear a uniform, put on a badge, and you have the possibility of not returning to your family at the end of the day. If you don't have passion for your job, what are you telling, yourself? Second of all, you got to be genuine with the community that we serve. These are people every single day that we go out to, that we're there to serve them and help them through their times. And, you got to love what you're doing.
Yeah. I want to jump in there and say, Chief, one of the things I noticed about you is you've kept focus. You kept focus on what you're here for, what the mission is, the people that you're serving. And I think you've learned through the years to see the joy in that. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you have to wait, right?
Right. And where it comes back? It comes back having, that moment where somebody just walks up and he goes, I just really want to thank you very much for what you do. Please stay strong, and God bless you. And they walk off. You don't know who they are, but it's amazing, when they do that. And we as law enforcement officers can contact so many people. Yeah. I mean, it's just a simple smile, a simple good morning, ma'am, how you doing? Holding a door for a lady that's going through a door, saying hello to someone. I mean, it's there.
And think of what that does for the profession, for the uniform.
Exactly.
That the image the encounter they have in their mind is, wow, that police officer was respectful, kind, courteous. 786-313-3115, 786-313-3115. You have less than 10 minutes to call us or text.
I got a text that came in.
Oh, wonderful.
Let me read this for you, Chief Landa. It says, thank you, Chief Landa, for your years of service and sacrifice. It's sad that police officers are getting a bad rap by some. What can we do? This is the question they have. The listener from, I think, Cutler Bay area.
Yeah, we actually just went over that question.
Oh man, it hadn't been answered in my machine here.
Absolutely,
so thank you. All right,
absolutely.
good. Thank you for that. We can save the time.
We got the Chief Landa said, keep supporting us.
Great,
right? Keep supporting publicly.
Great.
I wanted to ask you. Yes, 42 years. Again, it's kind of like a huge question. This could be a whole essay here, but here's the question. What changes have you seen in law enforcement, good, bad? But maybe the more important part of the question, what do you see coming? What is in store for law enforcement here in the coming years?
The main thing that I've seen in the changes has got to be definitely technology. Wow. I mean, that's amazing what we've gone to with tag readers, the body cameras that the officers are wearing. The computers that they're using now, tasers. I mean, so much equipment has come into play that can kind of have the officer use that type of equipment and technology before he has to get into a situation where he has to use his hands or he has to use his firearm. That's really important. And I can only see, because I'm reading in the different magazines, the literature that's coming out, technology is going to keep advancing specifically for police.
Wow. So that's what you see coming. The technology is going to continue to
keep coming.
Play a major role. Wow. Well, with about 8 minutes left, you still have plenty of time to call or text us.
Did you ask the chief the light questions like Does he like? Is he an opera kind of guy?
Oh,
Is
not
he-
that light. Not that light.
Is he a drama kind of guy? Does he like to watch drama? Golf? Is he a golf type of guy? Did you ask him questions like his favorite food? You know, is he an ice cream kind of guy or pastelito kind of guy? But he's real fit, so I don't know how he does it. You know, I think he's working out or something. Maybe he's eating the right food. But did you ask him those questions?
Nah, not those, not yet. So opera or music.
I like all music. I
All right.
usually constantly listen to my Latin music,
All
but I
right.
also listen to country.
All right.
So country's a special one.
Good.
Vaca frita is my special. Arroz con pollo. That's
Está bueno.
definitely with me.
He can come back. He
There
can come
you
back.
go. Frijoles negros, arroz blanco, please. I need that too. So,
There you go.
you know,
Excellent. Favorite dessert?
favorite dessert? Oh my God, gotta be arroz con leche.
Oh
Wow.
man, that's great. That's
Sure.
great. It's everything. You know, and the reason I do this is not just to not make the best use of the time, but we always like to remind you, the listener, that law enforcement agents, they're human beings. You know, they're dads, they're moms, they're sons, they're daughters. They have tastes, they have likes, and they have some tough experiences. You know, sometimes in the morning they got to get up and they got to handle their domestic situation, son or daughter, and then now they go into a situation which is about to escalate, and they got to put that all aside to focus on the situation to de-escalate it. I guess a question I would throw in there: how do you find the strength to do that? Oh, you have a text? Go ahead.
Yes,
Go with the
yes.
question. We are there. Yeah.
Man, that's a great question, Pastor Az. But I want to get the listeners' questions in here. We got two at the same time. Here's the first one. Here we go, Chief Landa. Lightning round. How do you, as a leader, motivate others to do their best if you yourself are discouraged?
I got to keep reiterating to them that they can make a difference. On the two doors in my that I have in my police department, I have our badge, and then underneath it says "Make a Difference." And I tell them every single day, no matter what, you can make a difference in one person's life.
Great stuff.
Man,
Great stuff.
you're ready.
How long have you been in South Miami?
South Miami been there going on 11 years now.
Wow.
Wonderful.
That's great.
Here's our second question. What would you tell and encourage a young person who was enthusiastic and eager to join law enforcement, but because of the media and public negativity today, are now feeling discouraged to join?
Can I add?
Oh, let me bring up
Can I
Adrian.
add, Jory? Maybe in the same question, current officers, and it's not the dangerous calls, but sometimes just within the profession, there's so much frustrations to overcome, and I'm sure.
Yeah, well,
Chief-
we can get to that, but I think it's
incoming and
I just think it's a very interesting question because, Chief, I mean, 42 years, I don't know if you're going to make it 52, 62.
Of course,
I don't know, but all that to say that, for example, here's why I think this particular question, Adrian, I would love to get to your question as well. Here's why I think this one's so important. Somebody has to do it. Right, we need law enforcement officers in our society, and not a lot of people want to do it anymore. So those people that as the question said, they were excited, and now they're not so excited about this thought that they had this profession.
So three different steps. Number one, definitely do your work on it, your homework. You got to come in, learn about the job. You have to learn and know about it and everything else. Number two, come down to a police department and ask those questions. Sit with somebody that you know or whatever and go through that. And the third one I think would be is go on a writing assignment with a law enforcement officer and see what that's like. I know it worked for me. I know others that I've done that with if it's for law enforcement. I go back to what I told you before. This is not a banker's job. This is not a normal job. This is something that consumes your life. You got to have the passion for this profession.
And here's what I would add, or maybe what you're saying without saying it, because the passion will overcome the negativity and the media, and if you love the job. So,
because what you're going to go through as a law enforcement officer for the remainder of your life, as long as you're in that profession, it's overwhelming. And it can be super overwhelming. So how your mind plays into it and how your heart is so passionate about this profession, it will keep you moving forward and you can get over it.
Absolutely.
I want to throw something in there, which, Chief, you're alluding to, and that is when your strength is bigger than your challenge. That's why you always keep smiling. That's why you keep going, because God has called you. At the end of the day, law enforcement, it's a calling. It's not something you just say, I'm going to be a banker, I'm going to be a mechanic, I'm going to be a cop. It doesn't work that way. There's got to be a calling in your heart. And I love what you said also, that you make a difference. It might not appear that way, but you go on a call and you get the father and the son talking again, or you get the wife and the husband. You've made a difference.
And if you've done that just for one person in one day, it's one person's life that you assisted them.
Yeah.
I never knew a person was coming up and he came up to me and can I just tell you something? And I didn't know it whatsoever. I talked to him for an hour. I bought him a coffee. We discussed everything else. And he goes, today, I was going to take my life.
Wow.
And the guy turned to me and looked at me and told me, but what we talked about for the last hour, the way that you treated me. So if I have my arms crossed as a cop and I got a grumpy look and I'm not talking to you, it doesn't work. But if I say, hello, sir, how you doing? Because he's looking at me in my eyes and we're making eye contact. You know, we had a coffee, we talked about our lives, and that's what he told me at the end of the day.
Treat them like you would want to be treated.
Exactly.
And watch
my
the
family.
results.
My family.
Oh.
Wow.
Getting back to Chaplain Adrian's question, you know, and he shared an incredible story earlier in a meeting. We don't have time to get into it, but someone who has, for whatever reason, they're now on the job saying, I'm just waiting to get out of here. This is not what I signed up for. I don't want to do this anymore. What do you have to say to him, Chief?
You know, there's two different, there's the officer wellness program that we put into, and they have another class also that we put in there. You know, the most important thing to do there is to grab that person's supervisor and their staff, their brass, to bring them in and have conversations and talks. How you doing today? Is there something bothering you at home? You have to show that person and that officer that you care about him.
Wow.
If you're able to do that and you can work with that constantly, it may not be a 5-minute thing. If I'm a sergeant and I call him, hey, come on by my call, let's go have a coffee. Come by my call, let me help you out with this call or whatever. And you show that you have importance in it as a sergeant or as a lieutenant, you can bring a person that back. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes they are waiting for that, you know, retirement. I'm just going to get out of here. I don't want to get into trouble. Forget it. Nobody cares. Yeah. And that, you know, sometimes that's difficult, and you won't bring that person back.
But that's so special. Again,
Conclusive answer.
We wouldn't have come up with that without Chief Landa. You know, the sergeant, the lieutenant, taking a vested interest in their officer. Chief, if you can believe it, we are out of time. We have 63 seconds before our next program. Thank you so much for being here today.
No, it was an honor being here. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
This has been another segment of Ask a Cop. Ask a Cop is a live call-in program featured on the first Tuesday of every month during the morning and afternoon live programs on God's Way Radio, 104.7 FM in Miami, Florida, or through the God's Way Radio app. Also, visit godswayradio.com for more details. If you missed the live program, you can listen to past episodes of Ask a Cop and find more resources at policethankyou.com. Again, that is all one word, policethankyou.com.